It's June 5th, 2026. Welcome to yes2hellwith.com. For generations, Americans have been taught to ask the wrong question. When government accuses someone of wrongdoing, most people immediately ask, what law did I break? But under the common law, that was never the first question. The first question was, who was harmed? Now let's think about that. Not what statute was cited, not what regulation was violated, not what ordinance was enforced. Who was harmed? What man, what woman, what child, what family? Because under the common law, rights belong to the people, not governments. If there is no injured party, no damaged property, no violated right, then what exactly is the court attempting to remedy? Who is the victim? The founders understood this distinction. Courts were created to resolve disputes, to restore rights, to compensate injuries, to provide remedies. Courts were never intended to function as revenue collection agencies. They were never intended to operate as administrative compliance departments. They were never intended to punish peaceful people simply because a bureaucratic rule was not followed. Imagine two scenarios. In the first scenario, a man steals his neighbor's truck. We immediately know who was harmed. The neighbor lost his property. There is a victim. There is an injury. There is damage. There is a remedy. Now consider the second scenario. A peaceful homeowner has a weed growing from a crack in his driveway. The weed harms no neighbor. No property has been damaged, no right has been violated, no one has suffered an injury. Yet a code enforcement officer arrives and issues a citation. Fines begin to accumulate. The homeowner may eventually find himself standing before a judge. Under common law principles, that should cause every citizen to pause and ask, who was harmed? What right was violated? Whose property was damaged? What injury occurred? And if there was no injury, then what exactly is being remedied? The American legal system increasingly asks citizens to focus on obedience rather than an injury, compliance rather than harm, procedure rather than rights. But common law begins with a much simpler question: who suffered the loss? Because if no one suffered a loss, then government is not restoring justice, it is enforcing compliance. And those are not the same thing. This is not an argument against law. It is an argument for understanding what law was originally intended to accomplish. Law was supposed to protect people, not weeds, not paperwork, not bureaucracies, people. The next time you hear about someone being prosecuted, fined, or imprisoned, or sanctioned, ask the question that common law has asked for centuries: who was harmed? And if no one can answer that question, perhaps we should spend less time discussing compliance and more time discussing justice. Because justice begins where injury exists, and liberty begins when the people remember that very difference. And as always, may truth reign supreme.